Well, hello and welcome to this episode of the Loving the Journey podcast, where we're talking to other podcasters, their journey, their ahas, their awareness, their special sauce, what they want to share with you from behind the mic. I'm Donna Cundy. Today, I'm joined with Alan Lazaros from the nextleveluniverse.com, and we're going to dive into what he has learned through podcasting. But before we do that, a little bit about Alan. He's the CEO of Next Level University. He is a top 100 podcaster with over 2,300 episodes. That's fantastic, with being heard in over 180 countries, over 1 million listeners, and has built a 7-figure business around podcasting. And so, Alan, we're really glad to have you here. Thank you for joining us today to talk about podcasting.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. In the beginning, 11 years ago, I got in a tough car accident that got me to sort of question my life. And I found personal development, self-improvement, and personal growth. And I decided to go all in on that. And I started a little company called Alan Lazaros LLC, what you'll never learn in school, but desperately need to know. And from that moment until now, I remember back then it was crickets. So I'm very grateful to be here. I mean it. I won't waste anyone's time.
What a great awareness to step out of that. It's we all get those calls along the way, and at some point you got a call to get behind the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you start podcasting?
Yeah, so way back before my business partner and I teamed up. So he and I have been together in business for 9 years, but 11 years ago, after the car accident, I started Alan Lazaros LLC, as I told you about. And I was an inspirational, motivational, and educational speaker. And my original goal was to bring personal development to the school systems. To bring personal development to the masses is what I would say. I now say we're selling kale outside of a candy store, right? But nice. So I was a speaker, and I spoke at my alma mater. I spoke at a couple colleges, high schools, middle schools, and I was sort of this inspirational, motivational fitness model, fitness competitor, fitness coach, and I became a fitness coach. And I had the podcasting with Kev. So I had a podcast called Conversations Change Lives. Kev was my first guest. Kevin Palmieri is now my business partner. He had a podcast called the Hyperconscious Podcast. So my motto was be a fly on the wall for great conversations with great people, because that's what I thought made the difference in my life. Is I had a lot of coaches and mentors, and I learned a lot from conversations. Kev's was hyperconscious, which if you look it up in the dictionary means acutely aware. His tagline was change the way you think, change the way you act, change the way you live. And it was just deep conversations. So I was his first guest. He was my first guest. And then we had the worst titled podcast of all time, which is the Hyperconscious Podcast meets Conversations Change Lives podcast. And we did that for 20 weeks. Yeah, right. We did that for 20 weeks. And then eventually we're like, we got to go all in. We got to go all in on hyperconscious. Now, there's one specific conversation. I had a coach back then called Alex. Alex said, we're going to write out all your dreams. And this is in the early days, so it's weird to go back to this, but I had so many. I had vision boards. They were basically these whiteboards that had all my TED Talk and author and all this stuff. And he said, okay, great. If you had to go all in on one of them, which one would it be? And I said, no. I'm going to do them all. I've always been this sort of super achiever guy. So you can't tell me no. The naysayer thing just drives me nuts. And he's like, no, I'm not. It's just hypothetical if you had to pick one. And I said, I think it would be the podcast. And he's like, well, why? And I said, it fulfills me the most. And the thing I like most about it is I don't need to go get a speech to practice my craft. I have these things called the 25 impact points of effective communication, storytelling, tonality, right? And I want to practice the craft, but I have to go get speeches to go practice in front of audiences. With a podcast, I don't need permission. I just show up on the mic and I get to master my craft. And it's meaningful. Our listeners are reaching out. We're meeting people from all over the world. We have these amazing guests, at that point, Olympic athletes and millionaires and billionaires and this whole thing. One billionaire. But at the end of the day, I've since outgrown a lot of that stuff. But back then, it was the most exciting thing I was doing. And the most important piece was it was a way to practice my craft without needing permission. So he said this, and this I still agree with, but I didn't know back at the time. He was 42 at the time. I think I was like in my late 20s. I'm 37 now. But he said, here's the paradox. If you go all in on that one, you can have all the rest.
Huh.
Yeah. And that is Very true. So we went all in on the podcast, and I mean all in. We did 1 episode a week, then it was 2 a week, then it was 3 a week, then we jumped to 5 a week. We got an in-person studio. Now we do one every single day. Now we have a 24-person team. We produce over 86 podcasts. I coach 30 business owners now, 29, about to be 30. And it's become this whole thing. But in the beginning, we were broke. We were just getting started. We didn't know how to monetize. And we've been doing a group coaching program for 21 groups now, 21 quarters in a row, called the Next Level Podcast Accelerator. But essentially, how do you turn your passion into purpose into profit? We had a ton of passion and a ton of purpose, but we didn't know how to turn it to profit. So that's kind of when things started to really crank for us. That's when I went all in on podcasting, particularly. Before that, if you had asked me what I am, I would say a inspirational, motivational, or educational speaker. After that, I was a podcaster. And now, if you ask me, Kevin and I joke last piece, he's still, this is 9 years later now, he's a podcaster who tolerates coaching. I'm a coach who tolerates podcasting. I like one-to-one. I didn't know this back then, but podcasting is one to scale, and then group coaching is one to several, and then one-on-one coaching is one-to-one. I like the one-to-one, and I tolerate the one to scale. He likes one to scale and tolerates the one-to-one. We all need both, particularly if you want to build a company. But I'm a coach who tolerates podcasting at this stage. So I wouldn't identify as just a podcaster anymore. But in the beginning, for that 5-year stretch, I definitely would have.
So it's interesting because it sounds like you both had your own podcast at first. You did a couple of episodes, and then at what point along the way, how many episodes in where you were like, oh, we need to be doing this together on this other podcast, and then the pivot to the new name and the new
19
venture? 19 episodes?
19 episodes in. He had like 4 or 5 episodes without me when I was just a guest. I had 4 or 5 episodes on YouTube. He still insists that it was a YouTube channel. It was gonna be on a podcast, okay? But anyways, so he was my first guest, fitness, mindset, that kind of thing, because he was a bodybuilder, and I was his first guest. And probably around episode 5, we started just doing them weekly together. And then at episode 20 is when we decided, like, we're gonna call this the Hyperconscious Podcast, and we're gonna go all in on that. And then he put me on the logo. That's when we knew it was official.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then you rebranded to
Next Level University. Yep.
How long did it?
Sorry to interrupt.
No, I was just wondering. You're answering it.
that was probably about 4 years in, I want to say.
Really?
Yeah, 3 or 4 years in. Yep.
Oh, interesting.
Which in hindsight, I didn't think this would be that big a deal. It was a big. If I look at the numbers of like listens and views, it was a dip, pretty big dip.
Why wait that long?
Ignorance. We had a mentor named Evan Carmichael. So he was one of our guests, and he's now become a dear friend. But he's the top 10 guy on YouTube. Do you know Evan? You know of Evan?
No.
Oh, okay. On YouTube, he does the top 10. Yeah, he's a really famous YouTuber, but that doesn't matter. The point is, he eventually said, you guys got to change the name. Nobody knows what hyperconscious is. And I agreed with him. I hated it because hyperconscious was like deep conversations and change the way you think, change the way you act, change the way you live. We agree with that so deeply. And for me, it was what you'll never learn in school, but desperately need to know. But hyperconscious is like, get off autopilot, right?
Yeah.
But he said, you're the next level guys. I remember you guys as the next level guys. And we were like, you know what? So I like the university thing because it implies learning. I don't want to just inspire and motivate. I want to educate. I always wanted to be a teacher, and I now playfully joke, I wanted to be a math teacher. And as a kid, I literally said, unfortunately, as much as people might be upset by this, I always said as a kid, they don't make enough money. I joke, now I teach math to business owners. And that you can make a lot of money doing that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's when we rebranded it to Next Level University. And that was probably back in 2021, 2020.
Really?
Maybe 2020. Yeah.
Yeah. Not that. Well, I guess it's 5 years by now. It seems like it's not that. Everything around COVID seems like
that was 6 years ago. Yeah. So
wow.
Yeah, we've
Okay.
been podcasting for 9 years, and the first 3 to 4 was hyperconscious. Yep.
Interesting. Interesting. So it seems like your podcast, and you had mentioned that it's really foundational to the rest of the business that is a seven-figure business. But had you ever thought about quitting?
Yeah, so this one's a hard one for me to answer. So Kev would give you a different answer, and I would have given you a different answer 9 years ago. Because of Kevin and I, one of our listeners says NLU is like blue collar meets white collar. Uh, Kevin playfully refers to our show as the genius and the joker. And I'm an engineer, straight A's in high school, blah, 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 that whole thing. And he was like, didn't go to college, you know, trades. And we both grew up without dads. His dad, he didn't meet till he was 27. His dad left when he was a kid, like when he was born, basically. My dad died when I was 2, and I had a stepfather who left at 14. So we both grew up in kind of, I don't want to say broken homes, but definitely, yeah, broken homes and very adverse childhoods. And he was raised by his mom and his Mima. I was raised by my mom and my mom and my older sister. And so we have similar core values, but very different personalities and very different skill sets. And so my long-winded answer to your question about did I ever doubt this? Did I ever struggle with self-doubt? Did I ever think about quitting? For me, no. Never once did I question whether or not we could be successful podcasters. Kevin's answer would be, "Oh yeah, I thought about quitting all the time." But I call it the doom loop and the success loop, and that's what I do in coaching now. Is the doom loop is I don't believe in the future, and I don't believe in myself, so I'm gonna invest less in myself and in less in my future. And then the future gets worse and you get worse. So then you believe even less. It's the doom loop. It's like
Self-fulfilling
yeah,
prophecy.
exactly. Believe less, do less, become less, believe even less, and it's all the way to the ground. And then usually rock bottom springs you up for a bit until you rinse and repeat that cycle. For me, the success loop is you believe in it, so you invest in it, and then you get results, which makes you believe in it even more. Now the question is, when you start to fail, do you still believe in it? And for me, yeah, I never once lost the belief. I definitely lost the worth it at times. Like, is this worth it? But I never lost the belief. No.
How'd you get through is it worth it?
The alternative is worse. No, I think so. For me, I call it optimizing for fulfillment. So I was very successful in the traditional path originally. So I talked about you're from Virginia, I'm from Massachusetts, born and raised. In Massachusetts, the traditional path was preschool, kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, high school, college, corporate. And it was like, kind of a bloodbath to who can get the top of the class and who can get into the best schools, Ivy League, all that stuff. And I definitely played that game. And I did very well. I was 8th in my class. I wasn't the very top, but I did well. Straight A's through all of high school. And I did the whole corporate thing, tech companies, stocks, all that. And I did very well. And then at 26, that car accident happened. And then I flipped the script and I went all in on fulfillment. And I actually went broke. So I liquidated all my assets over time. And I was like fitness model, fitness competitor, fitness coach, personal growth, self-improvement, personal development, work on me. Because before it was achieve, but don't necessarily look inside. And then after that, it was only look inside. Don't worry about achievement until you go broke. And then eventually we built a business. But yeah, so the original question was, is it worth it? How did I get through the worth it? The alternative for me was worse. And what I mean by that is I've always been very coachy, even before I knew what that meant. Do your resume, cover letter, LinkedIn, like even past girlfriends, like friends, getting people jobs, career development, always. And now as a 37-year-old man, I look back and go, it's obvious that I should have been a coach. Like goals and dreams is my world. And I now realize that I lived in an echo chamber of goals and dreams because I was passionate about it and other people mirrored that. So I lived in a world where I thought everyone had goals and dreams, and that's not true at all. It's just that tends to be what I talk about. And it turns out most people statistically don't believe in themselves. Most people don't have clear written goals. Like most people don't achieve them. The whole New Year's resolutions thing, all that. So now I know I'm wiser now, but back then I was just naive as hell. So the worth it factor for me, I think the alternatives were unthinkable. I used to joke like I should go sell Oura rings, and I could do well at that. Like back when I was in tech sales but I can't. It's a playful joke. I can't. I have to do this. I was born for this. I was bred for this. Like it's the most meaningful work in the world to me. And thinking about doing anything else is just unthinkable. And if you're out there watching and listening and you don't have that yet, keep searching. Because I didn't have that till I was 28. And I know that sounds early to some people, but I'm telling you, for me, that was late. That is late. I should have found that at 14. And again, should have, right? But coaching is my favorite thing in the world. Do I always want to do it? You don't know you love something because you always want to do it. You know you love something because you're always glad you did. I think regret and fulfillment are the best teachers. I'm so fulfilled when I coach, and I have a lot of regret with other things that I did for work that I just were terrible, in my opinion. Not terrible things I did, but like not fulfilling to me.
Yeah. Had you already committed to the one thing of the podcast during this time of I don't have an option to quit? Like or had that come later? Had the mentor come later?
The mentor was pretty early. Which
You
mentor?
had
The coach?
You had already
Coach
jumped
Alex?
all in? Yeah.
Yeah, after the conversation with Alex, his name was Alex Goad. I've actually since thanked him for that conversation. Even though at the time I did think he was kind of a dick. I now realize that he was just being a good coach. Because being a good coach is basically telling people things they don't want to hear. But as long as they're accurate. And he came pretty early on. So that was like probably a year into podcasting.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not even. Yeah. So of our 9 years in podcasting where Kevin and I were together, it was probably about a year in. Yeah, I think it was 2019.
So you had already committed to all in. This is the one thing. And then when life and podcasting and you're like, you had already made that commitment. I wonder if how much that had really also helped to keep it going.
Well, I'm grateful for this dialogue. Even just thinking about it now, 11 years ago, I was all in on not corporate. I was all in on personal development, self-improvement, and personal growth, like building a personal development company. I was all in on that. Alan Lazaros LLC, what you'll never learn in school, but desperately need to know. Like that was all in. I wasn't all in on podcasting until after that conversation with Alex. Then I was all in on podcasting and personal development. And then we rebranded to Next Level University, and it became about health, wealth, and love. And it became about success. And that's where we are now. Our tagline now is success and personal development in your pocket every single day from anywhere on the planet, completely free. That is Next Level University. That's our tagline. But I used to say, personal development, it's so good. Please come. Now I realize, no, people care about personal development for what it will get them. People think they want success. What they really need is personal development. They come for what they want. They stay for what they need. And so I coach a business owner, for example. His name's Tim, and he did 9 million last year. And it's the same thing. Like, you're doing great. 28-person team, absolutely killing it. Goals and dreams, born and raised, start at the bottom, like the bottom. And he's doing very well. He's 40 years old. He needs to work on himself. The bottleneck is his own personal growth. But you can't sell that. Like, I can help you grow your company. That's easy to sell, actually. But you know what's impossible to sell is personal growth. So I call myself a business coach now because that's the package people want to see it in. And then what I really do is, metrics and business stuff, of course, but it's also like the leader, the CEO, the founder that needs to grow.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, we don't want to ever admit that we're broken or we need fixing or we need the things, but we can look at a business and say that. So yeah,
Exactly.
Very good insight onto that.
Well said, Donna. That's because you can say like, oh, the business is broken, but it's harder to look at self and go, okay, something's off. And I don't know if broken is the right label, but there's I mean, you're not optimal. No one's
something's off.
I call myself Alan version 3.7. right? So Allen version 3.8 is going to be a hell of a lot better than Allen version 3.7, partially because of this conversation, thanks to you.
Oh, wow, thank you. I'm curious, what has been your biggest aha over this journey of yours in podcasting?
This is going to sound pretentious, but I had no idea. This is how naive I was. I had no idea that people don't believe in themselves very much. Because
Wow.
around me, so many people acted like they do. And so now I separate everything from social world and real world. And now that I've coached for 7,000 hours, it's 6,958. I call it my magic number. Now that I've coached that many people from that many countries, that many industries, it's so obvious now because I see the Instagram account and the bank account, right? The social world is the wedding photos. The real world is the marriage. Two guesses which one matter, right? They both matter, but it's got to be the marriage first. So as a coach, you see the front scenes and behind the scenes. And when you eventually realize like, oh, everyone acts like they believe in themselves socially. No one goes out on Instagram like, I don't believe in myself. And if they do, that's very rare. And that's usually because they have a vulnerability brand or something like that, right? So almost everyone acts like they believe in themselves. And consciously, they might think they do. Real self-belief, it's known as self-efficacy in the psychology, is in the subconscious and unconscious. So I didn't know. My self-efficacy was through the roof. I had no freaking clue. And I didn't know why no one liked me. I sound so arrogant to everybody. It's like, no. Because Kevin said this to me once. He's like, dude, it's not arrogant to say what you did. It's only arrogant to say what you're gonna do. Guess what I do all the time? See? I'm gonna build $1 million company. That sounds wicked arrogant to people if they don't
Really?
believe in themselves. See? Yeah. This is so you're also naive. Yes, of course it
Yes.
does. Yeah. But I'm like, but I'm gonna. And you're not like allowed to say it until after it happens. It's this weird thing. But everything's created twice, once in your mind, once in
Yes.
reality, right? So it's got to be in your mind first. But some people do stumble upon success and then try to hang on to it. That's a very scarce fixed mindset thing. And if you don't study any of this, you don't know. So the majority of the population, if you look at the stats, only 4% of people have clear written goals, and an even smaller percentage of those people ever hit them. And when I read that, I did a meetup once, 2024, January, set goals for 2024, clear goals, all stuff. And I did research for it. We do them every month. I call them master classes now. They used to be called meetups. And I was like, what? I've had clear written goals since I was like 7, right? Like I've never I decided to get straight A's before I got straight A's. You don't just stumble upon straight A's. Turns out some people do. Some people really do. I have a guy I coached in the NFL. He's like, dude, I liked basketball. I didn't even want to play football. You stumbled upon world class? Imagine if you dialed it in, right? It's like, holy crap. He's like, yeah, my coaches wanted me to do this. I didn't even like this sport. It's like, dude, can you imagine if you actually wanted to and like optimized for that? This dude's playing with Eli Manning and he didn't even like the sport. It's like, dude, I couldn't do that even if I put it all on the court. Right? So some people really are drifting around, stumbling upon jobs and success without designing their own future. And that's actually the majority. But when you're a weird esoteric engineer and you don't know that, you just are this like weird, pretentious dude that people don't like. And now I understand that the majority of people don't have high self-efficacy. So, and this is the question I ask people. Why would someone who doesn't believe in themselves set a goal? But if you don't set goals, you don't build self-belief. So you're in this conundrum. It's like, well, I don't believe in myself, so I don't set a goal. Well, guess how you build belief? You set a small goal, hit it, and then set a bigger goal, hit it, set a bigger goal, hit it. Like you start at level 1 and you climb. You know, it's state-proof self-assign is the formula for building self-belief internally. Your subconscious and unconscious brain, they connect. Okay, you said you were going to do that. Okay, you did it. Okay, I'm going to self-assign it. And what else can I do? What else can I do? What else can I do? But if you don't do that consciously and you don't do that proactively, you probably aren't really building a ton of self-efficacy in your subconscious and unconscious, but you don't really know that other people believe in themselves more than you because everyone acts like they do. But you probably have an intuitive knowing. So last question real quick. Everyone has that like really arrogant friend who pretends to have level 10 self-belief. I always say this. This is how you know it's not real. Why would someone with level 10 confidence have level 2 goals?
Mm.
It's fake. It's a pufferfish. It's a protector. It's not real. And then there's other people who think they don't believe in themselves and they actually do a ton. But those are the people who only work behind the scenes. They love being behind the scenes. Socially, they're mousy. They don't want to shine. They don't want, rocks go up and compliments go down, so you don't want to be the tallest tree.
Mm. Wow. Just so much I'm going through my head as you're talking about all of these things, nodding in agreement. Yes, and one thing you said about the creation from the head to the hand, I think we might even be able to put another H in there, an alliteration of the three H's: head, heart, and hand.
Nice.
We got to really put our heart into things, and I hear a lot of heart from you
Well, thank you.
this whole time. That it's really your passion to do this, your purpose to do this, that there's no other way for you. This is the way. And
Thank you.
it's really refreshing to hear.
That's got to be the women's intuition there then. I don't get that often. I'm grateful that you feel that from me. I really do. Really am. But like, I wonder sometimes if my tenacity is seen as me caring so much or if it's seen as me being, an a-hole. And that's been really hard for me over the years because I think I'll give you a tiny example. So I had an ex who bought this Jeep and she was in tons of debt and only I knew that her college debt was big. And everyone else gave her all the compliments. They were so proud of her, your dream, yay, all the likes on Facebook. She's like, what do you think of it? And I said, honestly, I think that was a bad financial decision. She's like, why can't you just be happy for me? And I said, the truth is I'm the only one who really cares. They don't
Mm,
see your bank account. They don't see your debts. I really care. And that's a terrible decision. And I care enough to tell you that so that you don't keep making bad decisions. And I think that now I realize the coach is usually the bad guy, just like my coach Alex, who seemed like a dick, when in reality, he cared enough to tell me the hard truth I didn't want to hear. And now I used to call me, Christina, and Kevin, the three chief officers of our company. I playfully called us the three cowards because none of us wanted to be bad cop. Like, who's going to tell her? Not me. So everyone was just like this warm, loving, we're all friends. And it's like, we almost went out of business. You can't do that. It ain't going to work. But you
yeah.
also don't want to be toxic. So you got to find but I appreciate that. I'm grateful that comes through. Sometimes I wonder if my tenacity comes off as, was this just some wounded man or is this actually someone who really has heart in it?
Yeah, no, I definitely hear the heart that coming through from your conversation, which is really nice. Maybe it's the coach to coach, but I can hear it. I can feel the passion. Alan, as we start to wrap things up, I think, speaking of coaching, I believe that there is a listener who has listened to this conversation up to this point because they're waiting to hear something from you. There's something that is in you that they need to hear, and I'm wondering, would you mind sharing what you feel that would be?
Yeah, the thing that keeps coming up whenever I get asked a question of that magnitude and never quite like that, so I appreciate the frame. What always comes up is personal responsibility.
Hmm.
I I really did think it was a huge disadvantage to have my dad die at 2. I really did think it was a huge disadvantage to lose my stepdad at 14 and a lot of other stuff happened that was like I thought all those things were disadvantages. And in many ways they could have been had I not reacted the way that I did in hindsight. But one of the advantages that I have is, I mean, I playfully joke with Kev. It's like, you know, some hater on Instagram is not going to take me down with what my childhood was. Like,
Hmm.
you develop this adversity that you can handle adversity so well. And I always thought I was, you know, kind of soft growing up. I got bullied a lot. All my friends were older. My best friend from across the pond, he had older brothers. They would beat the hell out of us on the trampoline. And I had some abuses at home too. And I always thought all that was a disadvantage. And now later on, it's like, oh, y'all are soft. Like this is like, if you can't focus for 3 hours a day, like you're in so much trouble, right? Like you need to self-discipline, self-trust, self-respect, personal responsibility. Like, these are self-development. It's you versus you. Like no one's coming to save you. When my stepdad left, we were broke. I didn't know how I was going to go to college. No one's coming to save you. And it is your responsibility to make a life. Like it wasn't my fault my dad died. It wasn't my fault my stepdad left, but it's damn sure my responsibility to find a way to make a constructive life out of that. And I feel like in hindsight, Kevin and I not having dads, we thought was a huge disadvantage. And later on in life, I was like, oh, what we've made of that is actually a huge advantage, because he and I, we weren't entitled. We weren't expecting handouts. We weren't hoping for the government to be a certain way or for the economy to be a certain way. We just, we've worked. I've not taken a single day off in 11 years. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people think I'm nuts. I get it. Sometimes it's an hour a day. Sometimes it's 18 hours a day, but it's usually around 10. At the end of the day, that's what I would say to you is the internet is trying to convince you it should be easy. Life is never going to be easier. Success makes life harder, actually, because more responsibility, and you just handle hard better. So life is not supposed to be easy. It never has been for me. It never will be for anyone. Some are easier than others, but it's like the people who think life is supposed to be easy, every time something's wrong, they think something's wrong with them or wrong with the world or wrong with the government or wrong. Like suffering is a part of life. And you can convert that suffering into grit and tenacity and goals and dreams, and you can transform yourself and your life through struggle and through sacrifice and through suffering. And so I don't want to be toxic masculine, but I definitely want to tell the truth, which is personal responsibility is where it starts. And that has to be the foundation of everything you build your life
Mm. Wow, that's a powerful statement there, and so true. Um, where do we end this with? Alan Lazaros, thank you so much for sharing your journey so openly, for being so transparent in what you do and how you see the world, and for just sharing those nuggets of wisdom on this episode. If you want more from Alan, you can go to nextleveluniverse.com. You can listen to the podcast at Next Level University, wherever you get your podcast. We'll definitely put some links in the show notes. And we thank you for listening to this episode with us, for just staying with us through the end. And we'll have more to come in the future. So thank you, Alan. Thank you, listeners. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.
Hey there, it's Donna. Here's something we're thinking about. What if the reason your ideal clients are not finding you has nothing to do with your expertise and everything to do with 5 specific gaps in your online presence that you can't see yet? The Influence Scorecard was designed to show you exactly where those gaps are and what to do about them. We will review your podcast, your website, or your social media presence using the 5 tenets of influence: be seen, be heard, be easy to follow, be the solution, and be paid with purpose. And we're going to deliver a personalized review to your inbox within 48 hours. Every scorecard gets human eyes on it before it reaches you, and it's completely free. Click the link on the screen or go to 365businessmaker.com/scorecard to get started today.